the introductions to Pandas. In today's tutorial, we're going to continue from where we stopped from the former or previous video. Today we'll be walking through the data frame. As we know that Pandas has two data structure, namely series and data frame, and we have looked at series, how we can create series and all. But before that, before going through the data frame, for the sake of those who are asking me for the type of the software I'm using Jupyter Notebook. As you can see, you can Google search to download it. This is the icon. Can you see Anaconda Navigator? So once you download it, whether on PC, Mac OS, Linux and all, you just follow the installation instructions. Once you follow it, you will get it properly installed on your system. Then click on this navigator. Clicking on the navigator, you will see the different software you can use to do this analysis. And of course, for advanced people, you can use command line, the terminal, to open it as well. So you can see it now. Jupyter Notebook, we have a lot of it. We have PyCharm Professional and all, but I'm using Jupyter Notebook, one of the software we have here. You can use Jupyter Notebook, you can use Jupyter Lab, you can use, depending on whichever one you want to use. You can see we have VS Code, we have Spider and all. So that is that. For the sake of those who were asking me previously for the software that I'm using, so I believe you are okay with that. You can download that. So go to Google, your browser, and search on Google Anaconda Navigator, or just search for Jupyter Notebook install. So you will see it there. So now let's continue with the lecture of today. Data frame. Data frame is two-dimensional table as opposed the series. The series is one-dimensional. Can you see? It's one-dimensional in nature. As we have studied that in the last lesson, we say one-dimensional label array. It holds the data of any type and all. So that is it. But data frame is two-dimensional array. Simply put, it's like a table. So it's two-dimensional array. It is made up of a collection of series. Okay. Then it's structured with label axes, row and column. Yeah, meaning each column has its own label and each row has its own label, meaning the index. So each column in the data frame is a series of pandas. Okay, now this is the outline of what we're going to be working with. We can equally generate data frame ourselves using NumPy, list, as we have used, the exercise I've given you. I believe you have done it. As we have done in the previous lesson, we can equally do that. But however, in the real world, we want to use real world data set. So I have installed already or download from Cargo some data sets. Here we have Titanic data sets. Of course, we have TV show data sets. Well, let's look at how we can read. Like the agenda of today is read CSV file, because most of the time you'll be working with CSV file, real world data. How we can write data frame to CSV file. So we too can create CSV using Pandas. Okay, and look into the raw data. We're going to be looking into the raw data, the data we use Pandas to read. We're going to be looking at it. Then indexing in Pandas, how is that done? Summary, aggregation functions, sorting and column or row renaming, missing data. We're going to be checking missing data and filling the missing data with value or dropping it. So depending on the job at hand and the number of data instances or row or entries that we have, if our entries are much and the data missing in the entries are minimal, very small, maybe 10% of the data, the entry, or let's say 20% of the entries, we can actually fill the value. If it is 10 to 20%, that's in my own opinion, we can fill those missing value. But if it is more than 30 or 40% of our entries, it's important that we drop it so as to avoid ungeneralized outcome, most especially when we are using the data to create a model for prediction, classification and all. So it's better we remove it if it is more than 40% of our entry. So okay, so that is in my own opinion. So let's get started with that. So to do that, we have to import Pandas. I know, of course, we have done that up there, but however, let me follow. Let's say, okay, let me show you so that you can see that. So let's import Pandas as PD. So we have done that. So we want to read file, and this file I've downloaded it for Cargo. So Cargo is a data science platform where you can learn, you can compete, and also collaborate with other scientists, data scientists, okay, or machine learning engineers. Titanic. So look at the name, we have it there. And meanwhile, this data set is in the same folder as the file we are using. This is teach pandas. So I'm using the teach pandas file. They are together. So to read it is very, I don't need to be checking the what is it called, current working directory. If I want to check the directory I'm working with now, I can use this. I can import OS to check that out. So if you don't know all the method available to you in one library or the other, you can use this command directory. Okay, but I'm using print so as to help me print it out in a to enhance the readability of it. Okay, so can you see all what you have in the OS? So OS has all of this, but however, I want to use one particular method to read the directory I am currently working with. So you can see now from here I have get CWD, that's current working directory. So to do that, I can get that. Let me remove directory now. Okay, let me leave it for the purpose of those who want to use it later. So let's say print, I can say os dot current directory, just like that. Just print it. So it will help you, it will show you the current directory where the file you are working with is kept or lives. Okay, so you can see the directory is inside the code data set, and the data set also is inside the same folder as it is. So we have it now. Now also you can equally check the directory you have inside the PD pandas too. Can you see? So in case you want to use a particular method or a class and you don't know what you have at the tip of your finger. You can do this to check all the directory you have there. It shows you the class, category, the variables in that particular library, and also method, associated method or function. Let me use the word functions. Okay, functions. So we have this now. So what we want to do is to create this is a data frame. Can you see it now? I want to use data frame. And you can see data frame here. We have a function here called what, or a method called read underscore CSV. Okay, now let's create the pandas. Let's do that. Let's read any file we read, any CSV file we read, read it into pandas, data frame. Read it into data frame because CSV means separated CSV. Core CSV. Let me give the meaning, the full meaning of that. Excuse me, CSV. It means comma separated values, comma separated values. So now let's read that data. I'm going to be calling it Titanic. Okay, Titanic equals to data frame is equals to read that PD, then dot. The function we are using is read CSV. We have other function. We have read exec and all, but however the extension of the file we are reading is CSV, so we are using read CSV function. So you pass in the name. So you can pass in the name or you use the path. If I use the path, it's still the same thing as using only the name because they reside, both the file and the data I'm reading, both of them are in the same folder. However, see the name again. The name must be spelled correctly. Okay, Titanic underscore data dot CSV. Let's double check the name. I think I'm right. Yeah, so it can be somehow sometimes. So yeah, we've read that. Let's look at it. Titanic underscore df dot. Let's see the first 5 row. Can you see? Good. You can see now. Simple. So even if you don't use this, you don't supply the path, you can still read it. Let me remove this also so that you will see. So let's see if we are going to get the same output. Let's see that. Can you see? So in as much that the two files, this files is in the same folder with the data you are reading, you don't need to supply the path again. Can you see? This is the IPY, that is there is it. So this is the file we are working, the code, the Python code notebook, and this is the data set we are reading. So in as much they are in the same folder, you don't need to supply the path. Okay, that's that. All right, now let's continue. So these other methods to help us to see the first 5 rows of the data we just read. So let's look at the type of the data we've read, the data structure we've read. Is it series or data frame? So to do that, you can say type. So you can see now is what it's a data frame, a table, 2-dimensional table. So now the second, following our outline, we all know how to read. Let me label it. How to read. So this is reading read CSV file. Okay, so we all see how to read CSV file now. Now the next thing to do is how can we write data frame into CSV folder. so as we too can create something of that nature. So now, before then, let's create something. Let's create a data frame ourselves then to illustrate how we can actually write to write CSV file. So write data frame to CSV file. Okay, good. So to do that, let's just create a data frame. Let's say df example is equals to pd dot data frame. Don't forget the syntax for frame also. Okay, so is a collection of row, a collection of series, don't forget, meaning that we can use Python lists to create that as well. So let's just create something simple. Let's say 1 2 3 4 5 and 6. So let's create that now. Let's print that out first to see what we are doing. So can you see that now? So it has, can you see it has, okay, if I remove, I put double bracket. If it is single bracket, it recognizes it as one column. But by the time you put double angular bracket, it takes this as one particular entry. Okay, that entry has how many columns? Has 6 columns. Excuse me. Can you see this? Only one entry has 6 columns, and of course it's two-dimensional table that has its column labeled and its row labeled as well. So now looking at that, we can equally add index is equals to, let's say, entry 1. Can you see entry 1? We can equally do something of that nature, and of course we can ask to that. Can you see? So it's a collection of rows or collection of series that make up that as well. So we can do something of this nature too. Let me just do something of this then make sure that entry is equals to the index you are supplying to. We have 2 entries now, this comma and this. Okay, so you can say entry 2. So if I print that now, can you see it now? So that is that. So if I don't explicitly state the entry value, the index value, is going to give it its own default indexing starting from 0. Okay, I believe you understand now. All right, now, and of course, now let's look at how to write this. Let's write this in the CSV. Now write to CSV. What do we do? It's very simple. Just say call the name of the data frame dot CSV to CSV. Now it's going to write this column in the directory that we are in, and don't forget the directory, we got it using cwd. Okay, that directory. So let's give it a name. So you have to give it a name. So let's just say teach underscore pandas underscore df data frame dot csv. So now the extension must be added. If it is table, you have to put, but this one is CSV. So let's run it now. Cool. So we are done. It ran successfully. Let's go to the data set and see if we have done that. Can you see it here? So if I click on this file, it's going to show me what we have in here. And one thing about this is that you can remove this index if you don't want it to be there. if you don't want that index to be there, let's assume I remove, wait, let me show you something. If we don't state that we have this and we have this, okay, it overwrites what we have here already. So let's see it. Can you see it changes the indexing to be was 0 and 1, and I think we don't actually need this indexing here, so we can remove it. So how do we do that? What you need to do is to just say here, where you are writing to CSV, you can say index is equals to false, and let's look at it. Let's open it again. Can you see it's not there? The only thing we have now is the column name. Can you see it here? Cool. So that is how to write to CSV. So let's assume you are generating data set for your company, or from your analysis you want to create another CSV table or file out of your EDA, that repository data analysis. You want to generate another table from there, and you want to write it, skip it for future reference. So you can do the same as we have done now. So let me close this. Good. So let's proceed. So we know how to read data now, and we know how to write to the CSV. So let's move forward. Let's go up. Now let's look into the data we've read. So we've read this data already, which is this. So let's print it again. Let's look into it. Let me just print the data frame and see. So it prints by the time you call the name of that Titanic data frame, it prints all the instances, and use this dot mean there are a lot of instances within this between the 4 and 886 entries. So now you can see the dimension, the shape we have here. We have rows and column. We have 891 rows and 12 columns. What does that imply? Let's look into the data very well. So as you can see, this is the column label and this is the row label. So this is the row 0, 1 and all, and this is passenger ID survived, P, that's P class, passenger class. We have the name, we have the sex, we have age, we have siblings and spouse, we have patch, we have tickets, we have fare, we have cabin, and we have embarked. Okay, so we are going to be looking into this data. What can we see in this data? Data science is all about collecting data, organizing them, and looking into the data to trace pattern, to make obvious repeated pattern, string pattern that human cannot make obvious. It's obscure to human mere eyes and all. You should look into the data very well so as to trace the pattern, to help us make informed decision for future actions. The action could be what can have a great impact on our business and all. So it helps us grow, probably for business. It helps us to trace, to know the pattern, how our supply and demand in the time past, so as to prepare for the future demand and supply. In that, it helps the decision makers to make informed decisions for future the company growth. Okay, now before that, instead of printing all of this, we can actually print the first 5 row. How can we print the first 5 row? You can use head. Is a method. It's also a method. You see it will print the first 5 row starting from index 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is 5. Okay, now we are looking into this. Let me just say looking into, let me create a label for that. Let me call it looking into the data. Let's call it looking into the data. Okay, good. So now let's look at what we have. We have a method as well that we can use to check the information about the data. So we have that. Info means information, so it will tell us, it will give us a summary, a brief of the whole data frame. Okay, so as you can see, first of all, it tells us the data type, the data structure of this particular um, data, which is data frame. Then it tells us the range index, meaning that we have 891 entries, that is 891 records of people, rows. Okay, and the index starts from 0 and it ends at 890. Okay, then it tells us about the data column, that there are 12 columns starting from the passenger ID down to the embarked. Okay, and of course it equally tells us, it now enumerate all the column for us, while it numbers it as well, index it as well. So this also can be referred to as what, data frame. So now the column we have, can you see, it gives us all the names of the column. Can you see the column name are all here? Can you see everything is here? Then it tells us, it counts. This count is for none. Okay, any entry, any column or entry that is having no value is not going to count it. So this count is for the row that have, all the rows that have what, that have value in it. So, and also it tells us the data type of that row. So for passengers, we can see here is an integer of bit of this size, 64 bit, and of course survived, we have integer as well. Passenger class is also an integer, but name is an object, that's string. Okay, and I define string to be what, the chunk of symbols or characters or lexemes. Okay, so we have cell is also what, a character. Of course it's also an object, and age is a float. Age is a float because of decimal value. The decimal value we have there, it shouldn't have been, but however, because of the decimal value, it recognizes it as float. Now siblings and spouse number, and of course you can see we have 891 according to this information we have there, the entries, but in the age we only have 714 values, meaning we have some missing value here, float. So symbol, we have this, we have ticket is also an object, we have fare, we float, we have, of course you can see it's float, we have cabin, and we have embarked. Object. Then we have data type. It now group them into the number, it groups the column into their data type. So it count the, how many floats do we have here? We have one, the age, and this two of them. And how many integer? The integers type are 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 5. And object also 5. Yeah, this one and this one. Then we have this and this, and we have this. So 5 of them. Then the size, the memory usage for us to run this is 83.7 plus kilobyte, meaning within the range of 83 to 84 kilobyte. Okay, um let's continue about our expository. Now let's look at Please let me pause to now. We'll continue later. All right.